Hey there, Bruins fans. It's the voice of the Bruins, David Coyer. I am joined by head coach Steve Howard, and this is the first episode of the Austin Bruins Coaches Show. What we're going to do all season long is every other week, I'm going to sit down with a member of the coaching staff, whether that's Coach Howard, Coach Rooney, Coach Murray, or maybe even some other special guests as we go out through the season and kind of highlight the previous week's games, kind of reflect on what's been happening with the Bruins, and then highlighting what's going to be coming up with the Bruins, giving a little bit of a preview. Again, that's going to be every other week right here on all of Austin Bruins social media. But this week, we got the head honcho, Steve Howard. Coach, how are you doing this week?
Good. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
No, absolutely. And you know, it has been a good week, a 5-1 victory on Saturday against the North Iowa Bulls. But before we kind of dive into that, kind of a bigger announcement is recently with that first game, we kind of announced the Austin Bruins leadership group. The guys with the letters on their chests, we have Jackson Riley's got the C. You got Nathan Williams, Luke Malkasian, Alex Lorenza, also with some letters on their jerseys. But as we talked about before we kind of came on here with the coaches show, that those are kind of just letters to you, and you see it more as a leadership group, even if someone doesn't have a letter on their chest.
Yeah, like the letters just mean they can talk to the referees at the games, right? But, we have a lot of guys in that room with experience. We had to go out and find some with experience. All 4 Swedish players that we brought over, and they played at the highest level in Sweden, the Swedish National over there. And we also have Connor Beckwith returning. We have Eli Brown returning. Jack Solomon played junior last year in the AJHL. We got E.J. Paddington, who played in the SIJ in his hometown of Thunder Bay for 2 years. There's a lot of guys with experience that are leading in that locker room. And we expect to lead, and so that's our leadership group. And I think it's important for us to say that just because they have the C's and the A's on the jersey doesn't mean they're the only leaders in that room. We got a lot of guys that can speak up, and a lot of guys that need to lead by example. Some are quiet, some are outspoken, and that's what I think makes a leadership group. I think you guys, we got to have a bunch of guys in that room that are going to establish our culture and how we're gonna play and how we're gonna do things on and off the ice.
And that's a really cool way to look at it, is just, hey, those guys, just because they have their letters on the chest, those are the guys who can talk to the referees. And like you mentioned, I've even noticed just kind of looking around practice or after practices that a couple of those names that you mentioned, especially some of those returners, they definitely show like they're kind of stepping up there, those veterans, and showing that they can be leaders as well. So that's really cool, kind of a nice mentality that you have here.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're happy with everything, the way things are going. But I've already told the guys there's going to be some adversity, though. There always is every year, and it could be a small bit, it could be a big part. There's injuries that happen. There's a lot of we call them distractions and things outside of hockey that go on throughout the year, and we just need to make sure we're managing the room and we're prepared for those things.
And so moving on then from that leadership group, we mentioned a 5-1 victory over North Iowa. That's the 11th time in team history that the Bruins have won a season opener. And a big part of that, we'll get to the offense, those 5 goals in a minute, but a big part of that, you can't get that win without only allowing 1 goal, and Jack Solomon looked very solid in net, stopped all but 1 shot that he saw. And can you talk about his performance on Saturday and his first game with the Bruins?
Yeah, no, Jack played great. He was solid in net, and honestly, there was a couple others that they had some grade A chances where he came up big on the save, and the 1 goal that did go in, it was a turnover at the blue line. We gave it up to their D. Their D just threw it on net, and they got a tipped in puck on them, and it's the first game. It's game 1. We got 59 games this season. We're very pleased with the outcome and how we played. But we know in our division especially, all the teams get better. There's good coaches top to bottom in our division, in our league, period. So the guys are going to get better over there in North Iowa. Their structure's going to get better. They're going to figure out how to play. But I was very pleased with not only the goaltending, but our special teams did a great job. I think we were we went 6 PKs where they didn't score. We actually had quite a few shots on our PK, and then our power play, obviously going 2 for 3 was great. That's important. So winning the special teams battle is a big part of well, a big part of hockey, and especially in the regular season, like that could be the difference maker in whether or not you make the playoffs.
And you mentioned they're 6 times shorthanded, not allowing a power play goal. What do you attribute to that? Because it felt like, especially as the game went on, it felt a little bit more like there were a lot more of those penalties. But the guys, they were still aggressive even as the game went on. Maybe showed a little bit of exhaustion once you got to kind of those 5th or 6th PKs, but still not letting a goal in. What do you kind of attribute to that, and how do you guys work on that during the week?
Yeah, no, that's Al Rooney. He's been around for a while. He's won a Robertson Cup as an assistant down with Dan Wildfong at Lone Star. Obviously, he's been a head coach in the league. Like, he knows his stuff, and he takes on the PK, and he does one heck of a job back there with that. He's just, he's dialed in. He's got the guys going right now, and yeah, that's something we talked about in between periods. I think we killed off four penalties in the second period, so we were in the box for 8 minutes, and you just can't have that. You're spending that much time in the box. Of course, they're going to get a ton of shots, and they're going to be in our end, and they were in the second period. And a lot of those penalties, it's early, but we got to clean those up. I don't like losing, that we call it the penalty battle, and we had more penalties than they did. And, the teams that take more penalties throughout the year, they have a tougher time. But Al's done a great job of getting the PK up to standards, and I was thoroughly impressed with how they defended and killed. And your best killer's got to be your goaltender, and he was. So that was great.
And you already mentioned 2 for 3 on the power play for the Bruins. Both of those power play goals, Alex Lorenza. Taking a look at that line of Lorenza, E.J. Paddington, Luke Malkasian, counting for 11 points and 4 of the 5 goals, that 5th goal being the first one of the game, Connor Beckwith scoring his first career goal, E.J. Paddington scoring his first and second career North American Hockey League goal. But what do you attribute to that line's success of Malkasian, Paddington, Lorenza? Fans who came out and watched some preseason games, saw them in action, saw how they worked well together, and now they got to see it during the regular season as well.
Yeah, that's our all Canadian line right there. We put that line together. It's just chemistry, really. Alex Lorenza and Luke Malkasian have been, best buds and friends for years. I think last year was the first time in 7 years they didn't play together. So, once we got Alex over here and he liked it, the door opened for Luke. And then just as of last week, it opened for not only Luke, but Luke's brother came over, Evan, as well. So we got 2 Malkasians here, but Luke and Alex get along so great. And, those two, they just have that, they just have that knowledge of where each other is all the time on the ice. And then when you put a guy in like EJ, EJ had 32 goals last year, and I don't care what league you're playing in. You score 32 times in a junior league, you're doing pretty well. And he showed what he can do in the game on Saturday, and so did Luke and Alex. Luke can certainly score a ton too, but he was more of a setup guy, I guess, in that game. He, a couple of assists were off of shots, but that's what we like about those 3. They can bounce the puck around and take it around with the best of them, and we're happy that they got on the board and they got off to a great start.
Luke Malkasian, 4 assists for 4 points. E.J. Paddington, 2 goals and an assist. And Alex Lorenza, 2 goals and 2 assists in Saturday's win. And that led to, as I mentioned before, the 11th time in the team's 15-year history winning the season opener. How big is it to win, a regular season opener? Over the past couple of years, 6-0 under your watch, at least across the last 6 years. A lot of those coming at the Null Showcase, which we have coming up this week. So getting this kind of tune-up regular season game against a division foe, how is that different? But then also, how does that affect the rest of the season?
Yeah, obviously you want to get off to a great start. Everybody does, but these 2 points are big. Every point is, and it's real easy to get caught up in the, we got to see what this guy does or that guy does as coaches, and I think this time of year you got to put your best foot forward. And I was really impressed with the lineup that we put in, and going through preseason. We were trying to find what the right chemistry was, what the power play was doing, what the PK was doing. But for us to get off to a great start, it's just it's it's a team thing, really. It's systems. It's our assistant coaches, Al, the associate coach, and Nick Lear, the goalie coach, like all doing their part, getting these guys on the same page. And it's only one game, but at the same time, as our guys know and our fans know, last year it came down to, basically the very last weekend to get in the playoffs. So every point matters in our division. It's going to matter even more this year with 8 teams in the division. So, we need to keep rolling those points in, and that's our goal. But yeah, you're right. Normally we start out at the showcase, and normally that's where we're playing our first games. And I thought it was a great thing for us to go into a hostile environment and play in North Iowa because, hey, they're 45 minutes down the road, and it's just it's a rivalry that, you can't help but have. It's doesn't matter how great their staff and their players treat us. It's just, hey, it's a rivalry game. And so to go there and play and get the rust off, I guess, and play an actual regular season game is great. Before we go up and play in front of, 300 scouts or whatever is going to be up there. It's always a madhouse up at the Blaine Super Rink there. There's going to be a ton of guys and a lot of nervous kids usually, and it's awesome that we got to get out there and they got to get a game under their belts before we get up there. So I think this is the first year we've actually done it that way, and I think it's a good thing.
And, of course, this episode is airing on Friday, so when you will be watching this, the Bruins will have already played 2 games against the Elmira Aviators and the New Hampshire Mountain Kings. But coming up on Saturday, 2:30 p.m. against the New Mexico Ice Wolves, the third and final game of the Null Showcase. And transitioning into that showcase, 3 games, 4 days. Obviously, you're typically used to playing those back-to-backs Friday and Saturday. What does that third game add? I know you still have that day off, but 3 games in 4 days still could get exhausting for players.
Yeah, it can, but I mean, it's no secret. You don't need to be a mathematician to go, 4 games in 4 days is a lot more, right? So that's hard, and that's taxing. Anybody that's played knows playing 3 and 3 is hard. I think having that day off in the middle is definitely an advantage. Our staff's going to decide on what we want to do on that Friday, whether we want to skate, if it's just an optional. But it's one of those scenarios where we're going to kind of see how these 2 games go, which, we're hoping that when you're listening to this, they went all right. But, anything can happen up there. It's the beautiful thing about playing in front of all those scouts and those people at the Super Rink. You're going to get players' best games. They're all excited to be up there. Once again, the teams we're playing, there's one completely new team, Elmira Aviators. They have a coach that hasn't been in the league. He could be bringing something different that we haven't seen to the table. New Hampshire, their coach was around last year. Last year was their first year, so it'll be the first time in franchise history they'll play them too. And then New Mexico Ice Wolves will be in there, and they have a new coach, but Kevin Hartzell's been around a long, long time. He was coaching the USHL. He's been a senior advisor. If you're a coach that's been around as long as I have, you kind of know the feedback and the storied history that he's had as a career. So I expect that all 3 teams to be really good and good challenges. We want to go up there and we want to play our best hockey, and we want to keep the guys healthy.
And final question as we kind of wrap up this first episode of the Coaches Show. You've been going to the showcase quite a few times here now as the coach of the Bruins. Does it ever change your experience when you go up there? Like, is anything ever different, or what's your favorite part about going up to Blaine every single year?
I'll tell you, my favorite part, honestly, is seeing a lot of the guys I haven't seen maybe in a while, or catching up with the college coaches, the NHL guys, all that stuff. But it's also the worst part too, because it's fun to talk to everybody, but there's certainly times where we have a game going on, or I'm just running up there because I need to turn in a lineup sheet or pop into the scout room. And honestly, you have to prepare yourself to get stopped about 10 to 20 times on the way. The scouting aspect is great because they bring in the NAPHL. We also have our Bruins Fall League team playing up there. the U18 and U16 Bears team is what we call them. They'll be playing in the back rink, so we get to start scouting right now and see some of the talent. This is where we found the Kyle McClellans. Right now we have Andrew Dubin with us. And you'll find a bunch of guys that you want to get on early, especially in that league, to try to hopefully have them pick you. You're courting those players. Xander Lipsitz, another one that's with us right now. We watched him there last year. And if you can find the right guys early on, you can start talking to them. They're answering questions for the parents. Maybe get them down here to Austin for a visit. And so that's what we're going after. We're going to be up there spending a lot of time before and after our games. And then all day Friday, we're going to be there. We have one of our coaches coming back here to run the practice along with yourself. But the rest of us we're going to be working hard. And that's another part that's great, but it's also there's a good and bad to it, because by games 5 and 6, everything starts rolling together. You almost feel like your eyes are going crossed by then, and it's a long haul to watch hockey for 10, 12 hours a day and still have some good notes at the end. Believe me, I've had some things where it's been the 5th or 6th game that I've watched, and some of my chicken scratch on my notepad wasn't very good. So that's what's fun about it. I think we're finding those future players that we're looking to put in an Austin Bruins uniform and get them down here. And, once again, it's just a great event. It's chaos for 4 days, 3 days for us, but 4 days for the coaches. And having said that, we're going to pound this out and hopefully get some wins, hopefully find some really good hockey players to come and play for us, and hopefully we get a few of these guys on some Division I radars and hopefully even some NHL radars too, because there's a lot of those. Well, every team in the NHL is going to be represented up there. So,
which of course is the main reason of the showcase, getting everybody looked at by colleges, the NHL, all that sort of stuff. But I guess the news here is that I'm going to be helping out with practice on Friday. I'm just finding this out now. What specifically do you need me to work on with the guys?
Yeah, no, I'm just going to need you to help unload the bus and load the bus.
That's what I'm good for. That's probably the best thing that I can help out with. I probably couldn't even tie skates, let alone skate out on the ice. So I can help load and unload the bus. That's why I go to the gym every single day. That's all I'm good for at this point.
Good, yeah.
Well, this has been the first episode of the Austin Bruins Coaches Show. Again, this is airing on Friday each and every week, every other week. It'll be coming out every other Thursday, typically. But of course, with the showcase this week, we had to kind of adjust for the schedule. But be sure to look out on all of Austin Bruins social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that sort of stuff. We'll be putting this out every other Thursday. Myself, whether it's Coach Howard, Coach Rooney, Coach Murray, or some other special guests. Apparently, I'm a coach now, so maybe I'll just do one by myself one time. But make sure that you like, share, subscribe. Make sure you keep tuning in to get all that fun facts about your favorite Austin Bruins. But, Coach, thanks for joining me on this first episode.
Hey, it was my pleasure, and we hope to see everybody at our home opener on October 4th. Thanks.
October 4th and 5th against the Minot Minotauros. And, of course, tomorrow, Saturday at 2:30 p.m. on NATV against the New Mexico Ice Wolves. I'll be on the call, so hopefully you can tune into that, or you can make it up to Blaine as well. But for now, have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you next time.